Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for part 2. This is the current view from Sky Live. Today's August 29th, and you can see that Venus has now moved over to the left of Jupiter, but Jupiter is still very close to the Beta star in Virgo. You can see that right here when you zoom in, and that's a star that's called Savi Java or Sebi Yahweh. It's a star that has God's name in it, and it means beautiful Lord. And incidentally, the alpha star is the star right here. This is the star Spica, which represents the first fruits, the first sheaf offering. And I'll show you an image of that right here. You can see Virgo holding a sheaf of wheat in her hand. And that's where the alpha star is, which is the star Spica. And you can see that's in the constellation Virgo. And Jupiter is only going to be in view for just a few more days. It actually disappears from the horizon somewhere around September 2nd. So I'll show you what it'll look like at that point. Okay, so this is the view on September 2nd. And as you can see here, there's a very close conjunction with the moon and Jupiter once again, just like we had on August 5th, where the moon was a crescent moon once again, and Jupiter was to the left of the moon, which seemed to form the Islamic symbol, the symbol for Islam. And I believe the moon is going to move over to the other side of Jupiter eventually, but right here you can see it in the position of the Islamic symbol. There's also going to be an annular solar eclipse just the day before on the 1st. And you can see that here the moon is right in front of the sun, creating the annular solar eclipse, which will look something like this. It makes a ring where the moon comes right in front of the sun, and the only thing that's left is the outer ring of the sun. And over here it says, as seen from the southern tropical regions of Africa and Madagascar, the new moon will pass directly in front of the solar disk on September 1st, 2016, to stage an annular eclipse of the sun. It says, during an annular solar eclipse, the moon lies too far away from Earth to completely cover over the sun's disk, so a thin ring or annulus of sunlight surrounds the new moon silhouette as seen in the images above and below. And so that's what that'll look like, and that'll be on September 1st. And according to the Torah calendar, September 1st and 2nd will be the Feast of Trumpets. And you can see that right here. This will be month 7 on the Torah calendar. It says Yom Teruah, Day of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, Civil New Year. That'll be on September 2nd or 3rd. And that's preceded by the annular solar eclipse the day before. And in my last video I had talked about how it could be that the scepter that's talked about in Genesis 49:10, that could be referring to the sun rather than Jupiter. Over here you see where it says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, and unto him shall the gathering of the people be. It could be that the scepter is actually referring to the sun, and I had mentioned this in my last video, how it could be that the sun itself needs to move to this central position here that's right between these two constellations, which is the point that the Sphinx is pointing to on the zodiac, and it's where Jupiter is right now, right by the star Sebi Yahweh. And I was asked a couple of times when that would be, and that would be around September 16th or 17th. and I'll show you that. So you can see now the sun is right in the middle, right where the constellation Coma Berenices makes this angle right here, this point, and right where the star, the beta star in Virgo is, which is called Sebi Yahweh, has God's name in it. I was mentioning in my last video that it could be that the sun needs to be in that position, and that'll take place on September 17th. And I had actually forgotten at the time that there's actually going to be another eclipse on that day. That'll actually be the beginning of the Feast of Sukkot. And you can see that right here on the Torah calendar for month 7. You can see Sukkot right here on September 16th and 17th starts the first day of Sukkot. The eve of Sukkot will be the day before on the 15th or 16th of September. And there's going to be a penumbral eclipse on that day. As you can see right here, September 16th, penumbral lunar eclipse. So there's going to be a solar eclipse on September 1st, and then, which is right before the Feast of Trumpets, and then a penumbral lunar eclipse on September 16th, which will be the first day of Sukkot. So you have 2 eclipses, once again on the feast days occurring, and as you can see here, the sun will be right in that central position between these 2 constellations. Okay, what I want to do now is go back to the Genesis 49:10 prophecy. And in my last video, I had talked a little bit about verse 9 and how that read in the Greek. And so I decided to go ahead and look at verse 11 in the Greek as well. And what I found was really interesting, and I just want to share that with you as well. And first I'm just going to read it in the English. It says, binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt unto the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. Well, just from reading that verse, I kind of got an idea of what I thought this was talking about, but I wasn't convinced of what it was talking about until I actually saw how it read in the Greek. But just to show you some of these words in the Hebrew first, I just want to show you the word foal or foal, and that word means he-ass or male ass. And then it says binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's colt. So if you go to this word, this one means a she-ass or a donkey. So you have a male donkey and a female donkey, and then you have a colt mentioned, which is actually the word son in the word for son in the Hebrew. So it's not actually colt, it just means son or child. And then it says unto the choice vine. And then it talks about he washed his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. And so now I'm just going to show you how this reads in the Greek. This word right here means to be tied, binding or tying, just like in the Hebrew. It says binding towards the grapevine. I'll show you that word. Okay, and over here it says any climbing plant with tendrils, especially a grapevine. And then over here it says his donkey or colt, and I'll show you this word here. It doesn't give an indication as to whether it's male or female in the word, but let me just show you the word first. So you see means cult, and the extended definition is foal, whether colt or filly, any young animal. But the gender is actually determined by the pronoun here. This is in the masculine, so it's talking about a masculine colt of him. And I'll go ahead and show you this word right here. Okay, as you can see, this word means spiral or tendril, and I'll show you the extended definition. Anything which assumes a spiral shape, whirl, convolution, tendril of ivy, coil of a serpent. And then this is the important word right here, helix. You see that in the definition right here. It says helix. Well, when I saw that, that immediately got my attention. That actually gave away for me what this is really talking about. But I'll go ahead and continue translating it. And then over here, it's talking about the colt, once again, the male colt. And then over here, it's talking about a female colt, because this pronoun right here is in the female gender. And then I'll show you this word. And see, it also means ass or donkey. And here's the extended definition, ass. So it basically just means the same thing. It's a colt or a donkey or an ass. And so you have a male and a female. Okay, and then this second part is this part right here, which I won't get into yet. It says he washed his garments in wine and his clothes in the blood of grapes. So that's what it says in the rest of it right here. It's saying he washed in wine his garments, the garments of him, and in blood, the grapes of the raiment of him, is what it's saying in the Greek. So it's saying pretty much the same thing. But the interesting part was this part right here. So it's saying binding towards the vine his male donkey, and the tendrils, the helix of the donkey, the female donkey of him. So he's binding his donkey to the grapevine, or towards the grapevine, and the tendrils of the donkey. And I submit that donkeys don't have tendrils. So this is not really talking about the donkeys. It's talking more about the vine. It's talking about when Jesus said, I am the vine and you are the branches. And let me just show you a picture of a vine right here in Wikipedia. This is a vine, a grapevine. And if you see this image right here, you see how it coils. It has tendrils which are used to climb objects. And you see how it coils around this ladder over here, which looks very similar to a helix. And I'll give you the definition of a helix. But actually, I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to have to continue with part 3 in the next video. Thank you.